let me just drop these 4 teams real quick. It's not going to be anything elaborate. I'm going with number 23 Army taking on East Carolina. I'm giving the 15.5. I'm taking Army. It's for every reason because of their rushing game. They're now the number 1 rushing team in the country, averaging over 360 freaking rushing yards a game, which is sick. Bryson Daly, their quarterback, pretty doggone good, averaging over 7 yards per carry as their quarterback, as you almost would expect at Army, but running that triple option, really? You would think that would be a little lower than that. And he throws the ball a little bit, but we know that's not what Army does. And then you have Noah Short, another one of those players, a running back. He's averaging 12.4 yards a carry. And then you have Kanye Uda, who's got 7.2 yards a carry. So it's not even all about the total yards. It's just the chunks of yards they're getting. And then when they do throw the ball, they get it to Casey Reynolds, their wide receiver, and he's averaging almost 30 yards per reception. Now, he has about 7 receptions on the year, but still. But defense, I think, is primarily what they do. Number 6 in the country against the rush, that's Army. And it reminds me, I keep reminding myself and telling myself about Jay Bateman, their defensive coordinator from years back. He's who helped that defense. And every time I see a good Army defense, I think about him. That guy, I hope he gets a job. Right now, he's the defensive coordinator for Texas A&M. I hope he gets a freaking head coaching job sooner or later. I remember back when he got Army from just a 90-plus ranking and to like number 9 in the country. Anyway, Army over East Carolina, 15.5, take Army. The next game, there doesn't have to be much said about this. Missouri's taking on Auburn, number 19 Missouri, that is. Auburn just has a bad team, not an overall bad team. Their quarterback, the most important position, Peyton Thorne, is absolute. He's not good. He's just not good. So let's just go with Missouri and giving 4 at home. That surprised me more than anything. Navy's number 25, along with Army being number 23. They're back. They're in the top 25 together, both undefeated together. Navy giving 16 to Charlotte. They should be able to handle Charlotte. They're going to be in Annapolis at home game. They're just absolutely ridiculous. Blake Horvath, who I've spoken about so many times, an obvious Heisman Trophy candidate. He's not going to win it because the top 2 guys is just so far ahead of everybody else. And we're talking about Travis Hunter for Colorado and then Ashton Genty from Boise State. They're so far ahead of everybody else. They're just not going to – they're probably just going to be the top 2 guys. Everybody else just getting an invite so they can have a dinner at the Heisman Trophy table. That's about it. And then the big game, Texas, number 1, taking on Georgia. Texas is giving 5. I'm going with Texas because – Georgia is just not the same team. They only rush 120 yards a game, and that's just not Georgia football. But, yeah, they do have passing yards. They do pass with Carson Beck, 318 yards on average. They're 12th in the country in terms of their overall offense, or at least passing-wise. But it seems like he has to get interceptions first before he starts playing well. On the other hand, offensively, whether you have Arch Manning, whether you have Quentin Ewers, you're talking over 500 yards total offense with this team. And they're holding teams to 27.6% on third down. This is how good they've been, and the reason why they're the number 1 team in the country. And they're only allowing 6.3 points a game. That includes that Michigan game a little earlier in the season, but still. And then for Georgia, Kobe Young is out. The 6'3", 215-pound wide receiver transferred from Miami, went to Georgia. He's that power forward red zone wide receiver you look for. He has been suspended indefinitely, so he's not playing. Another problem for Georgia, Carson Beck and the Georgia Bulldogs were a 34.5-point favorite against Mississippi State last week. Just won by 10 points, 41-31. I think in Austin, they're about to get it handed to them, and it's going to be more than 5 points. So there you go. The recap, Army, number 23, giving 15.5. I'm taking Army. And then you look at Missouri, giving 4 to Auburn. I'm taking Missouri. Navy giving 16 to Charlotte. I'm taking Navy. And Texas giving 5 to Georgia. This is the first week in which I went with all favorites. I typically throw an underdog in there, but not this week. There you go.